Hello, and welcome to another fully live Q&A episode of Hacking with Friends. My name is Kody Kinzie. I am a security researcher at Varonis, and today we have my good friend, Angelina. Please pronounce your last name properly for me, Angelina. I've been doing it wrong. Tsuboi, right?
Tsuboi.
Tsuboi. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
getting there. So sorry for mispronouncing that last time, but thank you for coming back on the stream. Last time we talked about a lot of really cool and interesting things around OSINT. Today we're going to be talking about satellite hacking, DJI, drone hacking, and some other interesting things as well. So thank you for coming back on the stream today.
Of course. Thank you for having me here today. I'm excited to talk about all the projects I'm working on.
Yeah, so on top of this project that you're working on, you also are going to be hosting a so far unannounced class at Null Space Labs that we just posted, I think, last night. So if you're on the stream, you'll be the first to hear about this. I'll actually put it up on this the screen. There's going to be an Aerospace cybersecurity satellite hacking 101 class that is hosted at Null Space Labs in, well, technically Burbank, but the Southern California area. So if you're interested in all this interesting, cool hacking stuff around aerospace, and in particular satellites, well, Angelina, why don't I let you kind of explain what this class is going to go through?
Yeah, so I'm really excited to be teaching this class. I think aerospace hacking is a really niche field, and there's not a lot of resources to learn about it online. And I really want to really lighten up the load in terms of learning about aerospace hacking and reducing the barrier to entry to learning about the concepts of it that is currently established right now. So essentially, the class is going to go over the basics of satellite hacking through engaging CTFs and using the Python programming language. We're going to be going over satellite reconnaissance, enumeration, and various other attack techniques that hackers employ to exploit satellites. And we'll learn also how to prevent and defend satellites from those attacks using digital forensics and attack vector detection. So it
That's
should be
so
really
cool.
fun, really beginner friendly. Yeah, I'm excited to teach it.
Yeah, so this is Angelina, you have been a helper or like a co-presenter at a couple workshops before, but I believe this will be your first one at Null Space Labs anyway, doing it by yourself. So
Yeah.
obviously, if you're around the Southern California area, you want to learn about hacking satellites, make sure to check out this workshop because it sounds like it's going to be a ton of fun. And I'm very excited that we get a little bit of variety because we've been doing a lot of, microcontroller hacking workshops and stuff. I feel like this one is going to sell out just because it's so easy to learn this sort of thing. So the tickets are going to be $60, I believe we set on. I haven't set up the ticket purchase system yet. So while you can register on the Null Space Labs meetup group, you can't purchase a ticket quite yet. It'll be soon, we promise. But make sure to stay on top of this because tickets, I imagine, will probably sell out pretty soon as we announce this. So if you want to be notified when this happens, you can join our meetup group, which is Cyber Weapons Lab on Meetup, and you'll get an announcement when tickets go on sale. And of course, you can also follow our good friends, Null Space Labs in Los Angeles, who's my favorite hackerspace in the Southern California area. They are absolutely wonderful and have hosted a number of these awesome events with us. So if you want to support them, some of the ticket is going to go towards directly supporting Null Space Labs. So they always appreciate a full house. Make sure to share with anyone you know in SoCal if they also want to learn some satellite hacking stuff. So yeah, I'm really excited about this. And of course, we'll talk a little bit about this more if people have questions during the Q&A. I see, in fact, we also have some people in the chat asking about the Discord server. So of course you can have an invite to our Discord server. That is because we have been trying to get people to join just, so we have a place to carry on the conversation, answer questions and all that stuff. And as you can see, we have plenty of chats going on. We have some good hardware stuff that we've been sharing recently. We had somebody asking about how to build a nugget from scratch, and I shared a couple of different setup guides for that. We also have some new people and some people who have questions. So every time we do the stream, I go through and look at the live Q&A chat, and we often have good questions, one of which I answered at length here about Yagi Spark from Distance. So do you want to join this Discord? Have I sold you on it? All right, all you need to go to do is go to nugget.lol, nugget.lol, and that will take you to our Discord community. I tried to keep it nice and short, so I'll type it in the chat just so you can see. It's going to be nuggets.lol. I went on a nugget domain buying rampage, so enjoy. So feel free to leave questions for us to answer in here. Angelina is also active in this Discord server, right, Angelina?
Yep.
Yep. So if you have a question for Angelina as well, you can also leave it in here and we'll do our best to get it answered. And of course, if you have any nugget related questions, this is the best place to go because we love helping out people who've got nugget related issues. And also if you do have a nugget and you have an issue, then you can often find that other people have already had the problem and we've already fixed it. So it's a good place to go no matter what you're working on, hardware, content, whatever it is, it's a good place to be. Okay, so enough about the Discord server for now, although I have to say my AI generated images are impeccable and you can actually buy some of these now as stickers, which I've made for sticker packs we're going to be doing online. I just figured like the hackers versus cops cats were like incredibly cute.
They look adorable.
I love the way that they came out. And the sticker packs, we've got like cute nuggets, we've got scary nuggets, and then we've got some very abstract, weird nuggets. So yeah, lots of cool stuff in the Discord server. So yes, enjoy the invite to the Discord server. You were all invited, and we hope that we see you there. All right, Angelina, did you want to go into talking a little bit about, well, drone hacking today?
Yeah, of course. So I've been recently getting really into the field of aerospace, cybersecurity, and aerospace hacking in general. And one subfield of aerospace hacking is just like pure like aviation applications. So one application of that I'm really interested in is DJI drones. I personally own a DJI drone. And whenever I'm not flying it, I'm always trying to hack into it and discover what I'm able to figure out about it. Last time I was able to reverse engineer the DJI communication protocol using Wireshark. And this time I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm conducting a digital forensics research program and analyzing like what exactly you can extract out of a drone after like an incident happens. So like, for example, like a crime like contraband drop-offs. This is actually used and applied by investigators to determine like scenarios and like figure out relevant information about the crime related to drones because believe it or not, there's a lot of crimes affiliated with drone behavior. And I feel like that isn't really looked into as much as other cyber-related crimes. So
just to make sure I understand, the idea here would be like somebody intercepts a drone or a drone crashes carrying like a suspicious package, or the drone is seen somewhere that it's not supposed to be, or maybe it's forced down and people are wondering like, okay, who flew this drone either in a very dangerous or unsafe place by an airport maybe, or like who maybe was moving something via this drone either across a border or like to a jail or like something like that where the drone might be the best and most reliable option for sneaking something into an area, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, also, I see in our chat, James is saying he would like to build a giant nugget and is calling it a turkey. I have to correct you. Technically, that would be a rotisserie chicken. When they get big like that, it becomes a rotisserie chicken. When it's very small, it's a nugget. But still, great idea. Oh, and also, if for anybody who is asking in the chat about where you can find a link to Angelina's class, I just dropped it in our Discord community. A little bit of incentive, and also I will let you guys find the Null Space Labs meetup group. It's just a Google search away. All right, so what Angelina is going to be talking about then is if we find a drone and it's a suspicious drone, what information is available for us to kind of trace where it came from, like who might have owned it, and then what other things it might have done, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so currently what I am researching is what types of files can be extracted from a DJI drone. So for this research project, what I did was I used other data sources collected by other DJI drones alongside my own unique artifacts that I've recorded with my own DJI drone and see like what kind of files and information you can extract out of it. And I found that you can find like an enormous amount of data associated with drone flights just by getting access to the drone. So for example, for DJI drones, you can extract something called an SRT file. And with an SRT file, you can map out pretty much the entire range of the drone's telemetry. So where it's been, its geo coordinates, its altitude, its vertical speed, and its 2D speed. And you can plot it out in a chart kind of like this with an animation of where it's been along in its flight. And this is really useful in terms of like digital forensics and investigation scenarios to figure out like where the drone has been and to find pinpoints where the behavior might be a little bit sketchy, where it might be like a contraband drop off or some kind of like surveillance that is unauthorized. You can do also a lot of different things with it. Another application is analyzing its firmware. One repository I'm highly fond of is the DJI firmware tools. I actually use this with my prior research on the DJI communication protocol because they have an entire communication dissector library as well, where they just have like a bunch of like Lua files purely for dissecting DJI communication protocol. So like, there's like a huge community behind DJI drone reverse engineering, which I frankly didn't know about before, but it's really huge. There's like tons of developers continuously working on developing these firmware tools. But one problem I noticed when I was like doing research behind DJI digital forensics was the disparity, like the range of tools you can use. Like there's so many different types of files you can analyze. I'm currently writing a research paper on it right now, and you can see like the entire like length of what I have. This is just, I'm guessing like 50% of my final draft, but like this is like most of it is just like analyzing like the file structure because there's so much you can analyze. You can analyze images that it's collected. You can analyze flight logs in like so many different formats, like in the DAT format, in the KML format, in a text format. You have to do so many different types of parsing. You can do reverse engineering with the firmware. And there's like a huge like range of tools, but there wasn't really like a single like consolidated, I guess, like software suite that allowed you to perform DJI drone digital forensics. So currently the program I'm developing right now is an open source command line tool and soon to be like fully like robust user interface as well that conducts digital forensics for DJI drones, because what I found was like there's usually like very niche tools like the DJI SRT flight data viewer, which is like purely for SRT files. There's
I love
like
that
20
view.
different files you can analyze. So just like combining them all into one tool is the project I'm working on right now.
So one question from the audience is, do you have to down it for the research, or is the data extracted in flight? And I would also ask, is the data available on the SD card, or do you have to plug in the drone to get the data?
Yeah, so you do have to down it to get access to the data. I think it does make active API calls to DJI server, so it is worth looking into, like getting like rapid like in-flight data. But for this research purpose, the drone does have to be downed, and I've talked to like professionals in this field, and that's usually the way it's conducted. Like whenever drone investigators choose to investigate, DJI or not, they usually have like this like huge like computer screen, and they like plug it into the drone, and then it identifies what type of drone it is, and then it extracts all the files out of it. So in most cases it is downed, and And the data is available in the SD card, but there's also other modes of data you can extract from. Like in the case of this research, I extracted data from the SD card, and you can also extract data from the mobile app itself, which is storing background information about the drone. So there's different modes of information available about it.
That's really interesting. So like, so from what you're saying, there's technically 3 different places where you could get that data from. You could down the drone and get it off the SD card, or from just plugging directly into it or the firmware. You could get the user's phone and get access to the DJI application, which is storing data locally. And you could probably get access to the DJI remote server where at least some sort of information is being exchanged about the flight.
Yeah, there's a lot of information available about these flights, which makes it really handy for investigators.
Yeah, wow. I just have to say also, I love this view that you have pulled up right now, like being able to see not only the routes from a bird's eye view, but then also from the elevation that the drone was flying, like really gives you a ton of information about the way the person was maneuvering, what like things they might have been interested in on the ground. Like if you were to overlay this over like a city or infrastructure or something, you would be able to see like, okay, it's circling around this, it got really close to this, it descended very close to this, maybe to get a close-up picture. So if we were looking to determine what the drone was interested in or what type of action it might have been taking, you know, being able to see where it descended, maybe to drop something or to be grabbed by someone, or maybe if it ascended and circled over like a building to get like really high resolution photos or videos of it, like all that kind of stuff would be really useful in determining like what type of intent the drone operator had.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see. Another question from the chat is just, please say that we will be at DEF CON. Yeah, we're planning on being at DEF CON. So it looks like we'll be partnering with the IoT Village, hopefully to do some cool and fun events. And then also, you know, some other people as well, possibly. So yes, you can count on seeing us at DEF CON. And then some people in the chat were just saying, I'm concerned with saying down the drone, maybe retrieve the data after flight. Well, the drone does have to come down, you know, in a peaceful way. Maybe it runs out of batteries. Maybe it gets stuck on a tree. Maybe it hits a bird. I don't know. Yeah, actually, I've had the instance where, I don't know if this has happened to anyone else, but have you ever had bees swarm your drone? Apparently the low frequency sounds of the motors attract them, and then after one of them gets like, you know, like into the blades, it causes all the bees to like attack, and then you get like hundreds of bees swarming your drone. So maybe that happens and you know you just want to figure out, you know, what the final moments of the drone were like. Either way, this is all really cool stuff that you can use to learn about what a drone was doing before it was down, or maybe, you know, where it took off from. One interesting thing that I'd heard, and maybe you could confirm this or deny it, Angelina, if you've heard it as well, was that some people were saying that the like DJI drones in flight will actually transmit the location in the clear, like unencrypted, that they took off from. So that could potentially expose the operator to risk of, you know, somebody nearby knowing exactly where the drone was launched from and thus where the operator is.
Yeah, definitely. I've definitely heard like instances where there's flaws within the DJI's like encryption processes. Like professional like reverse engineers, they're able to like reverse engineer the entire like DJI communication protocol within weeks. Because although DJI does have like encryption techniques in place, it usually isn't the best nor the most secure. So it's pretty easy to reverse engineer and look into.
Yeah, so James is also mentioning, I have an interesting idea. I wonder if it's possible to cause the drone to go home and pull data while it's in the air. That's certainly interesting. One thing that I think has been explored is causing a drone to like lose connection and then either descend or return to home. What's kind of useful for that is like if you're able to trick a drone into thinking that it's either lost its connection or it doesn't know where it is, often it'll just try to return back to the last place it was, or depending on how it's programmed, like land immediately. So I believe that if you disrupt enough of the systems of a drone and it can't return to home, then it'll probably, at least eventually, just land. Because I've heard some interesting stories of people like either spoofing GPS or disrupting GPS and then disrupting the main signal to make drones behave in like a predictable way to either capture them or otherwise prevent them from operating normally. All right. So, Angelina, anything else you want to share about DJI drone hacking before we take some more questions from the audience?
Yeah, a little bit more about like the program I'm developing.
Yeah.
Let me share my screen again. Okay. So usually aerospace hacking projects, I like to get them done really fast, but because of the robustness of this program, we're gonna have like all sorts of different features. It's gonna be like a Swiss Army knife equivalent to like just drone digital forensics. We're gonna have like an entire steganography suite, a parsing suite, a forensic suite, and a firmware suite. So it's taking me a little bit longer than I wanted it to, but it's going to be released in conjunction with a research article as well, talking about it. And I have like a quick demo showing like what kind of information can be extracted out of these files that can be extracted from drones. So, for instance,
Oh, by the way, is there any way you can
yeah.
make that text a little bit bigger?
Yes.
Just for any of our poor users who, that are on mobile devices. It's like quadrupled how many people are on like their cell phones and stuff watching our stream. So I always try to like to make the text a little friendly. And while you're doing that, I'll also just answer this question. Someone is asking, can you jam a GPS signal? Yeah, that's kind of it's problematic how easy it is to jam GPS signals. And in fact, I believe there's a kind of funny story of like a truck driver who had like a GPS tracker installed in his truck from his boss, and he bought off like AliExpress a GPS jammer to take breaks, you know, and be untracked. But then he parked his truck right next to an airport and caused air traffic control to shut down because like GPS stopped functioning at the airport. And they eventually found him. He got fined and such. But it's just an example of how, yes, you could totally jam GPS signals because they're super weak. They're coming from space. Any like a terrestrial base thing that's sending out the same signals could easily jam GPS. It's just super illegal. And while it's not impossible to get a device that does it, it is super illegal and generally like pretty difficult to conduct research on this, because anytime like the military is conducting like tests of GPS jamming, like you get like international news about, you know, things not working the way that they're supposed to. So yes, it is possible, but very illegal and often causes a lot of unwanted attention.
So a little bit about the program I'm developing. So I'm pretty much done with one of the four core features I have for this program. So I've finished the steganography, and if you don't know what steganography is, it's the analysis of like files in order to retrieve information. And with the case of like DJI media assets, there's like four files you can look into. There's the SRT file, which is the subrib file, which shows information about the videos taken by the drone in flight. The DNG, which is like raw like images taken by the drone, and then there's XMP. So for example, I have like an SRT file that was extracted out of a DJI Mavic Pro, and you can see like relevant information about it. So the timestamp, its home location, so this is its GPS latitude and longitude, its date, its time, its current GPS location, its barometer, and camera settings like ISO, shutter, EV, and FNUM. And using this tool, you can see like the amount of like data that's like being parsed here. You can view each specific information about each like file that's being extracted of the drone. So like relevant file information like file size, its last modified time, and then it goes frame by frame into like each snapshot of video recorded by the drone. So, and prints out the relevant information about it. And this program was developed in Golang. I was debating of whether to use Python or Golang, but time and time again, Golang has proven superior in terms of cybersecurity development for me personally. I just like the syntax of it. I like its speed and its concurrency capability. So, yeah.
We have a little bit of a debate going on about jamming. in the chat, which is semi-related. It kind of sparked off from whatever else we were talking about. So one of the comments was just, every wireless signal can be jammed. You just have to scream louder than the real signal. This is true, but also there's ways of jamming that do not involve just like screaming louder than the original signal. Like Wi-Fi deauthentication is a great example of what's called protocol-based jamming, where like you have a signal, you know what the different like language or the API of the signal is, like you know like the behavior that you're kind of causing by sending a signal, and you're deliberately sending a signal that causes something to break or something to not work. So that's one way of jamming that isn't just screaming louder. And that would be like one of the ways that would potentially work against some of these DJI drones, being able to like deauthenticate it from its controller, or like kick it off from its controller, and then assuming control of the link, getting like a man in the middle position, something like that. That's all super possible. And it doesn't rely on the kind of like screaming jamming that most people kind of assume is what jamming means. Like sometimes there's types of jamming that are less disruptive and somewhat less illegal, that are more targeted and easier to do research on. So just specifically when we're talking about like jamming a particular drone from its controller, if we're only kicking one device off of another device, and we're not affecting any other devices around us, and that device is ours, that's something we can generally do legally, and we can test this jamming, we can try it out. It's not a big deal. So if I say like we're trying to jam the drone, we're not affecting everything around us by blasting out a super loud signal that drowns everything out. We're sending a signal to the drone that actually causes it to behave in a way that we want, but the operator doesn't. So the alternative would be like the GPS jammer that the truck driver had. Like if you have that going off, it's just jamming everything around you, and it causes a huge disruption. So sometimes when we're talking about jamming for research, we're talking about specific types of jamming that aren't exactly the same. So if you're interested, super weird and kind of niche topic to check out, but different types of jamming, super fascinating. I highly recommend checking out different types of jamming, like protocol-based jamming, and other things that you might not expect when you hear that word. Sorry, it's a subject I like a lot. Also, another person says they would love to see this at DEF CON 31, and that this is something that they have specifically been looking for. So I know that Black Hat has something called Arsenal, which is where like Black Hat Arsenal is where people who have developed new tools go and like show off all their like cool hacking stuff. And you can end up running into people who are making really awesome either OSINT tool or offensive tools. I know DEF CON has like a version of the same thing, and I'm struggling to remember what it is. Anybody in the chat, if you remember what the DEF CON version of Black Hat Arsenal is, where people just show their like cool offensive tools, I really like that. And I was going to suggest, Angelina, with if we have enough time, you might submit this tool to be showed off then, so you can just kind of do a demo to anybody at DEF CON who's interested in this sort of thing that might want to come and check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll definitely look into that and hopefully publish it.
Yeah, if someone can remind me what that is called, I will say. I would say definitely give it a try. Yes, and also James points out there are a lot of different things you can do to prevent jamming, like hopping around signals. Actually, Bluetooth is really good at this. It's like kind of harder to jam Bluetooth in some ways because it like tends to hop around very quickly, whereas Wi-Fi stays on a single channel. So yes, this is definitely a field where you can go down a rabbit hole and learn a lot of cool and interesting things about jamming and counter jamming. But yeah. So another question from the audience is, has DJI provided any useful tools on their own to analyze data from their drones?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's kind of crazy how many like security researchers that are behind like DJI like protocols, and like how many people are like trying to like actively like, reverse engineer it. There's one like community that has like thousands of people specifically like trying to like reverse engineer and like hack into DJI DJI communication protocols. It's like a community. They don't use Discord. They use like an alternative version of like Slack. I forgot its name, but yeah, I would recommend you look into that if you like want to become more integrated with the community. And also there's like GitHub repositories with a bunch of tools. For example, the one I mentioned earlier, the DJI firmware tools that has like communication dissectors. It has like analysis of communications of SBS chips, and like a bunch of different like disparate tools created by like hundreds of developers. specifically for like analyzing the communication and firmware of DJI drones. So yeah, there's a lot of active development behind it.
So another question we've got is, can you jam a drone signals with the Flipper Zero?
Yeah, I haven't tried it. I have a Flipper Zero, but that's definitely a project I can pursue for next time.
Yeah, I would tentatively say that without an add-on, you probably would not be able to do that, just because like, don't the drones use like 2.4 gigahertz? And like, I don't think that the sub gigahertz radio, like the sub gigahertz implying that it's less than a gigahertz, would be particularly useful for that. So because as far as I'm aware, the Flipper doesn't do any like 2.4 gigahertz like Wi-Fi or 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi related stuff. You would need an add-on or something else in order to go after those sorts of signals, because they're just out of the range of what's supported, as far as I'm aware of anyway, of the built-in firmware on the or built-in hardware on the Flipper and what's allowed to be transmitted.
Yeah.
Good idea though.
Yeah, I suppose like you can use like the NRF 2.4 like add-on or something and use that to jam drone signals. Definitely something to look into.
Okay. So here's another question. Since you said you have a Flipper, any fun projects for the Flipper you recommend?
Honestly, the games. They're just so cute. I was like looking at a reel the other day. Like there's like one for like Doom. There's
of course
like lots of like different creative applications. Yeah, like I find games like super cool. Yeah, any projects you recommend, Kody?
I really enjoy, so I'm actually, I'll share my screen for a second. I'm looking at the like some of the community projects on Flipper, and I think my favorite like sub project is Flipper Gore. So this is people who have literally destroyed their Flipper in the pursuit of trying to do things. So I've seen more photos of like disassembled, partially destroyed Flippers in this chat. It is incredible. Like I really found a lot of cool stuff that I was just like, wow, I never, ever would have done that to my Flipper, because it's too expensive and I'm not brave enough. But this chat is full of people that are brave enough to try all kinds of crazy stuff. So if you've ever dreamed of destroying your Flipper through upgrades and such, this is what people do to their Flippers. But I've seen like every piece of the Flipper now from the inside out, and seeing what people have done, I think it is really cool and interesting. Personally, like, just a quick tour going through real fast, like being able to do infrared stuff, downloading like a complete database of infrared devices, I think is like essential to getting the most out of the Flipper. Obviously, you're going to want to download that Tesla charger Flipper like opener, where like you can just press a button and open all the Tesla charging ports in an area. That just makes you feel very powerful. Aside from that, like some of the like fork projects, like Rogue Master and like whatever else, are cool because they allow you to do some fun stuff around like customizing the way that radio stuff works. So for example, like you can like detect a signal and then from that menu directly go to capturing the signal, like with some of the like shortcuts that are allowed and like the alternative versions that I thought were really cool. So yeah, I really enjoy all the different things. Also, I find that like using the Flipper as just an extensible Bluetooth remote like ends up being a lot more convenient than I anticipated. You can use it to like control stuff on your phone, other people's phone. I particularly enjoy pairing it with other people's computers via Bluetooth when they're not paying attention. And then from across the room, I'll just use it to start typing on their computer or otherwise interacting with it, which is very funny. So yeah, there's a lot of like kind of niche things that it can do that like you might not have checked out. Using a Bluetooth like a Bluetooth keyboard or mouse or something on someone who's not expecting it is also a favorite of mine. I know oh yeah, it can be a universal two-factor key. They're making it for chip tunes, portal animations. There's lots of stuff. And you can see also people are porting over the ESP32 Marauder to be able to interact with it. This is a very popular project that is already kind of a mashup of microcontrollers. So just adding another one like doesn't seem too far out of out of what you would expect here. But yeah, lots of really cool Flipper projects. Those are the ones I've tried personally. I can see a lot of people are trying to do Wi-Fi development boards and stuff because, as I mentioned, they don't do Wi-Fi natively. I wouldn't want to get in trouble with the FCC either if I was them. So yeah, there's lots of cool add-ons and projects that I have not personally experimented with, but have seen other people kind of getting behind. It's just, the community of support here is growing and growing. And I think that there's going to be a lot more stuff as you keep your eye on it. Again, their Discord server is great. If you're getting on Discord, definitely check out some of the projects that are posted under Community Works. I'm trying to do the same, honestly, in ours and make sure that we have some projects you can find if you're interested in other stuff we're doing. But I've been very inspired by their stuff because I thought it was very, very cool. So yeah, okay. Let's take another question. Oh yeah, you didn't know about the Discord server? I didn't either until recently. All right, Angelina, here's a question for you. I'm wondering how big of an EMP on ground would affect a drone's flight. So should we try ending a drone's flight with an electromagnetic pulse on the ground? Is that a way of getting it down?
I mean, you could try it. I've only looked into eavesdropping and not like active like jamming it with like electromagnetic pulses, but it is worth looking into.
Yeah, the my favorite response so far in the chat is the answer to that is enough where you'll be in trouble. Yeah, I think that you would absolutely get in trouble for setting off an EMP like into the air at a drone. But yeah, okay. So another question would be, what kind of hardware would you recommend to do something similar? Like you did a paper not that long ago about how you like man in the middle the communication between like a DJI drone. What kind of like equipment would someone need to do similar research if they wanted to start like examining the protocols and like start like messing around with drones? Because I know that now you've analyzed both the signals that the drone were sending and then also the data on the drone itself. So what kind of hardware would be helpful for that sort of research?
Yeah, honestly, not that much. For the DJI reverse communication reverse engineering thing where I did the man in the middle configuration, all I needed was an alternate computer to eavesdrop, and that computer had to have like a network adapter that supported the 2.4 gigahertz frequency, so you can use like any like network adapter you have access to. And cool. For the digital like drone forensic stuff, all you need is pretty much like an SD card reader. And that's it.
That's
great. It's pretty accessible. Yeah, you don't need like
real.
A bunch of like hardware to get into it.
It seems like some of these tools you mentioned are also either available in the browser or like relatively like easy to run, like, the SRT viewer and like that sort of thing. So it's kind of nice that some of these are not going to need a specific set. Like you don't need to be running like Arch Linux or something crazy in order to be doing this stuff. You can just, be running a normal operating system and have an SD card reader and start getting into some of this stuff, provided you have access to a drone. Although I imagine that like, are there any like mock drone data sources that people can use if they don't have access to a drone themselves?
Yeah, a lot of researchers just like publish their own like unique data sets and artifacts onto the internet. After each flight, all DJI drones like store specific files of data, so anybody can upload it. So it's very accessible and really easy to get into.
So someone else in the chat is mentioning, where is it? Raspberry Pi 0 on a drone. What would be the use of that? Like, why would we want a Raspberry Pi 0 on a drone? Well, it turns out that there actually is a project that was documented a while ago. Angelina, do you remember the Skyjack project?
Yes.
So this was, I'm enlarging the wrong screen. This was by Sammy Kamkar, and this was, I believe, hijacking some like relatively like low cost drones that were just using basically Wi-Fi to communicate, and using the Raspberry Pi 0W to effectively like take over the drone communication and fly it away. So yeah, there actually are some things you could do using a little Linux device on a drone that could be used like almost like an electronics warfare package, where like when it's coming up against another cheaper drone, it's able to intercept those signals, put itself in the middle, and then pilot that drone away potentially, which I think is probably the funniest outcome of most drone encounters.
Yeah, it's super cool. You can make your own like drone zombie horde.
All right, so PW is also asking if you know what version of OctoSync or what generation of OctoSync you were examining.
I didn't look quite into it. I'll be happy to like link it into the research article. I didn't think about it. Thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah, that's a. Then we have another one, another comment that just says ESP8266 on a drone to warfly. So we already did it. We already did. Check this out. So on Hack 5, we did track Wi-Fi devices from the air with a warflying drone. We actually went ahead and strapped a little payload onto a drone and flew it around an area. And our goal was to track my friend Christian around. Let's come on. There we go. There we go. So this is the horrible thing that we put together. It was taped with blue painter's tape onto the drone. We launched it, and then we flew around and we attempted to locate where a specific device was. So this was the map that we ended up generating. We used, Google Colab to go through and extract data and start like peeking through all this information to look for a specific wireless device we were looking for. Now, if we were using like Bluetooth, like scanning as well, then we could theoretically track like devices that don't change their MAC address, like a car via its like tire pressure sensor, or like someone's headphones, or even like a police officer's like body camera. All those devices have Bluetooth signals that are pretty easily trackable and geolocatable if they're not randomizing their MAC address. In this case, we flew around, and after completing a little circle, we were able to locate one mobile device as it was flying, as the drone was flying around the park, and we were able to locate the second one. Where is it? Right here in the park as we were flying around, and right there is exactly where the target we were looking for is. So this has applications in like surveillance, like being able to surveil a particular device and find out exactly where it is in real time can be done. And we actually took this a step further and in a separate video used it to track someone who had scanned a hidden wireless network via a QR code. So we tricked them into scanning a QR code that made them a beacon basically, and then we tracked them with a drone to find out their exact location. So might sound crazy, but warflying is actually a thing, and you can use the ESP8266, which is a very, very low cost microcontroller to do that. You just need like a SD card reader and a GPS, and you got pretty much everything else you need aside from a battery on board. So yes, very, very cool to do. Lots of interesting applications that you can do when you strap something onto a drone and fly it around. I was actually, so on our last show, I was showing off a little drone gift dropper that they're selling on Amazon, where you press the button and it just drops something from the air. It's actually, originally I was like, okay, there's kind of only one use for this. But after a while, I realized like if I wanted to put an electronic payload on the drone, I can basically, put it into a little thing that clips onto the bottom and just use the drone gift dropper to fly around with this thing mounted, and then maybe drop it somewhere if I want to leave it there for a while. So lots of cool and interesting things you can do with drone payloads, both with the Raspberry Pi and also with microcontrollers like the ESP8266. Another question, is that video now private? So the one that I'm showing is not private. This one's available, but yes, Hack5 took down a number of our videos. They gave us very little explanation about this. We just sort of noticed they were down. I actually noticed it. I was live on a stream and I noticed that a bunch of our stuff had been privated. Later, they told us that they like revoked our Ducky script license and like just a bunch of, it was very dumb. So as a result, yes, a number of our excellent videos, some of which don't even involve the Nugget, ended up being taken down off Hack5. So super lame. That's why we're focusing our episodes on Redia now, and also why these few surviving videos from Hack5 are increasingly rare. So look forward to more content from us on the Redia channel, because yeah, Hack5 took down a bunch of our stuff, which sucks. We put a lot of energy into producing that last episode, making sure that it was fun and interesting. And yeah, it's kind of sad to have it taken down. All right, let's see. I tested the project, but the map was slow and buggy. Yes. That is definitely an issue when you are doing warflying. Seeing Alex makes me wonder where he is. You can check him out if you're on Twitter. You can see he's been at like a bunch of hardware conferences. He's been all over the place, like doing Nugget stuff and presentations. So Alex is still there. You can find him. He's been doing a lot of workshops in Southern California. But yeah, unfortunately, a lot of his and my stuff has been taken down off Hack5, which is why you're seeing a lot less of it if you're looking for it. Yes, and also I will acknowledge the gift that the gift dropping drone will be dropping is very nebulous. It's not totally clear who's receiving the gift or whether or not it's a It's a good thing. Yeah, James is suggesting perhaps that could be used to smuggle drugs into prison. Well, yeah, that is exactly what Angelina's forensics is supposed to be able to help out with. If we did happen to catch a drone flying over a restricted area with a gift dropper attached to it and no gift, then we might wonder, where did it drop off the gift? Like, where did it go? Like, who was it for? So this is all stuff that, I think will be interesting. What happened with Hack 5? Oh my God, that's such a long story. I'm not going to go into the whole story, but basically Hack 5 is much more of a hardware business than they are a video business. My team was happy to pick up the slack and be the video side of Hack 5 for like several years, but they kind of just slammed the door on us pretty abruptly. We got removed around Thanksgiving from their YouTube channel without explanation. Months and months later, we were told that they were worried about like a Linus Tech Tip style attack, but that happened like way later. So that doesn't really make sense. So in the end, we just found that we were locked out of the channel. We weren't able to even update videos, that had mistakes or that needed to be corrected. And after months of this and no real explanation, we just had a bunch of our videos taken down. So that's why it's sometimes difficult. Just like when I was working on Nullbyte, like I don't own those videos anymore. So it's a little weird to have a lot of your content out there that you don't control, or that the people who own it like aren't communicating anymore. So I'm not really sure, honestly, like why that happened. It's unfortunate, obviously, but anytime you put your content on another channel, it can happen. So we were happy to be the face of Hack 5 for a couple of years. As you see, there's not really much fresh content except for like Shannon's like show on Hack 5 anymore. It's all just kind of like product stuff. So that's what happens when you transition your business from like a video-based business to a hardware-based business. If you can't keep up the video stuff, it becomes much less of a priority. And unfortunately, we were the video stuff, and I guess we weren't much of a priority. So obviously that hasn't stopped us from creating content. That just means I'm probably going to take a break from putting my content on third-party channels, at least for a bit. So make sure to subscribe to the Redia channel, because that's where we're going to be focusing our energy for the foreseable future. Oh my gosh, sorry, Angelina. That was a long...
No worries.
Yeah. Oh my God, I took a picture of you at the Hack 5 booth last year. So we've actually been staffing the Hack 5 booth for like 3 years now. Like my crew that comes in has been like a good, like at least quarter of the people that have been at the Hack 5 booth for years. So it is really sad that we're not going to be there this year. But yeah, frankly, like, I don't really like the way that it was left, like having our content taken down with that without explanation was not great. So we're not going to be at the Hack 5 booth this year for the first time in like 3 or 4 years. It's unfortunate, but it happens. We have plenty of other partners, and we're probably honestly going to be in the same room, still selling stuff at the DEF CON conference. So you'll still see us there, just not at the Hack 5 booth, because we don't like having our content taken down. All right. So am I going solo? Building a GoFundMe? No, I'm not going to make a GoFundMe or anything. I am going solo, but solo just means the team that's been behind the show for years now is just taking on a new project. So it's not just me behind this. We have lots of other people working together. Of course, Angelina and other content creators, both making videos, making in-person events, and going to conferences. So all those people are going to be working on Redia now, which is exciting. It's fun. Like, not being worried about having someone else flip off your access to something is a huge source of stress relief for me. So I'm actually kind of happy to be doing my own thing. And yeah, I think that honestly, if you guys want to support us, go to redia.io, pick up a nugget. We're going to be making classes around it. We're going to be making more content around it. And that's really like what we want to do, is like, rather than have someone just give us money just because they think we're cool, if we can make something that makes it easier for them to learn and that they like and enjoy, then, it's nice. Oh boy, Angelina, this one might be for you. What is your opinion of Apple's Vision Pro reveal?
Yeah,
I use Linux BTW, but not Arch, I see. Otherwise, I'm sure you would have told us.
Yeah, so Apple's annual Worldwide Developer Conference was this week. So they announced Apple's like new VR headset. Honestly, I think it's a little bit pricey. It's $3,500 for VR goggles. But the thing is, like, that's kind of like the pattern with like new emerging technology. At the beginning, it tends to be on like the more pricier side, and then it becomes more commoditized and cheaper as the technology progresses. But I think it was cool. I thought I was at Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference last year, and all the gossip amongst the developers was like, it's going to be released that year, but everybody was disappointed. But this year, they finally got around to releasing the project, and I really liked like the SDK announcements about it. Like, I think one thing Apple does right is like it it's more about like API usage and developer documentation. So I'm really looking forward to like diving deep into their spatial computing like SDKs. I think it's super interesting.
I have been just wanting a VR system that doesn't make me feel immediately sick for a while now. So if they've figured that out, then I am willing to give them a shot. I don't appreciate that it is the cost of a used Honda, a nice used Honda, or like a month and a half's rent or something. It's just like a lot of money. Yeah, like so I don't think I would be buying one because I could buy like a MacBook Pro or like a tower PC that's really good,
Right.
like for the same price. But if someone were to let me use it, or if someone were to buy one for me, then I would certainly try it out. Yeah, I don't know. VR has always just been like such a sickening thing for me. Like every time I put it on, I'm like, my body just rejects it completely. If they've managed to appeal to those like leftover people that just have not been fans of like VR up until now, then AR, VR, like I think it's cool and interesting technology. I just like don't want to throw up to use it. Like it's just not worth it to me. I still think it's cool though. All right, so we got another question, which is semi-unrelated, but which do you prefer, Wi-Fi Fisher or Airgeddon for evil twin attacks? Angelina, do you have a preference on these?
I personally haven't used Wi-Fi Fisher, but I have used Airgeddon. Yeah, I think it's pretty simple to set up an evil twin attack.
Yeah, I haven't used Wi-Fi Fisher in a while either. Airgeddon, it has everything you need there, and I really appreciate that. The only thing I don't like about it is that it has like logic errors where like there's some things that you'll try to do that lead you to a dead end, and you just have to restart the whole program because there's no way to go back and there's no way to fix what you've done. So even though there's a couple dead ends in Airgeddon and you really kind of have to know what you want to do with it, I still think it's a great tool and tends to work pretty well. All right, I think we're almost out of time. Angelina, if people want to continue to follow you, if they want to keep up with your work, what is the best place for them to do so?
Yeah, I think I usually keep updates about my projects on my website. But personally, I think I tend to like outline my projects on either like Twitter or like LinkedIn. Yeah, and I'm also a writer for Medium and Hacker Noon as well. So you can keep track of my content on there as well.
Cool. I'm going to pull up your Twitter as well, just so people can see it, and I'm going to share it. But yeah, so if you want to keep up with Angelina, make sure to follow her on Twitter. Also, you can go to our Discord community, which is over at nugget.lol. nugget.lol. And you'll be able to ask questions, keep up, and then hopefully buy tickets once we have the actual event ready to go. So yeah, just want to thank everybody who was on the show today. We had a lot of really excellent questions, and a lot of them were on topic too. Like sometimes we're just kind of like jumping around and like trying to find like which comments correspond to what we're talking about. But most of you guys were interested in satellite and aerospace hacking and DJI drone hacking. So yeah, if you've got any more questions, if you are watching this on repeat, make sure to go to the YouTube channel, leave a comment there, go to the Discord server, leave a comment there, whatever you want to do. And we'll make sure to answer it on next week's stream. Also, got to give, per usual, a shout out to our sponsor, Varonis. They are the ones who make this whole thing happen and allow me to spend my time doing the stream for you. So do you want to support the stream? Do you want to tell them that you like it? Go ahead and go to varonis.com/Kody, Kody, my name, pretty easy to remember. And you can learn all about the new stuff we're covering this week. This time, we had a research release. So Salesforce is an incredibly popular tool that lots of businesses use, and researchers at Varonis discovered that a lot of people were just disabling them without actually shutting them down properly. These Salesforce communities that are used to store tons of personal or interesting information about a business or their customers, and that are sometimes just left exposed. So this is a piece of research that was released. It is painstaking to do this research and release it, you guys. Like so many people get upset, and we have to go through so many different processes to make sure everybody's cool with us like telling these stories of vulnerabilities we found. Varonis comes out with lots of really interesting vulnerabilities that they discover in cloud infrastructure and other things that they're auditing. So if you want to stay up with this, make sure to check out the Varonis blog, and particularly these threat research releases. I get to be involved with a lot of them. The researchers behind them are super smart and find a lot of really interesting and cool things, and you can expect hopefully a TikTok video covering this research release coming up soon. So yeah, if you are interested in cool threat research and you want to support the show, go to varonis.com/KODY, and you should be able to see this interesting research that was just released this week. All right, I think that's all we have time for this week. Angelina, thank you for joining us again. And also, again, thank you to everybody in the audience who's been asking excellent questions today. We definitely appreciated you having you on and answering your questions. So again, if you're watching on repeat, jump on nugget.lol, the Discord server, leave your question there, and we will answer it next time. Angelina, we'll see you again soon, I hope.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
All right, see you guys next time.
Take care, everyone. Bye.